You might be facing the most challenging thing in your life like I was, but I'm here to tell you I'm here. Real Talk is here to hear your story and to help you get through it. Make sure you join me on Real Talk. Have you been enjoying the show? Make sure you comment and like. Tell us what you want to talk about. It might be featured on the next Real Talk with Jean Price. Good evening, everyone. I want to take this time to thank you for joining me tonight on Real Talk. Have you ever asked yourself some basic question? What is education? Or why is education important? Why is it important for me to go back to school? Why is it important for me to stay in school? Well, my guest today, she's a dear friend of mine, but she exemplifies the power of education and why it's so important to have that under your belt. It is my distinct honor right now and pleasure to introduce my guest tonight, Mrs. Omika Benjamin. Welcome, Omika, to Real Talk with Jean Price.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to be here, sis.
It is so good to see you. You are not just an educator in my life. I am so grateful. You are such a dear friend. And as we had an opportunity to talk, as we were planning to come on the show tonight, the power of education. I've watched your life in the relationship that we have, and you exemplify the process, you exemplify the push. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in making sure that education was important to you.
Well, that's a loaded question. But first of all, I want to say that I appreciate you, Pastor Price, and your family so much. We love you guys. I mean, I say that not just to be, spewing out mere words, but we love you literally to life. So, but to answer your question, education has always been important to me. My parents made sure, my father, I actually wanted to go into the Army when I was younger.
Really?
Both my mother and father are military, were military. And so I wanted to go into the Army, but my father wouldn't have it. So we all children had to go to college. And though it was important, I didn't necessarily like it. I liked being a part of the group that, we wear the best clothes, we get nominated for all the little stuff in high school. But I went on to college, went through university, and there I met my husband. Now, what was also important to me was family. So when I met him, we got married and had children right off, and therefore I decided to stay home with my children. Mm-hmm. For a while, I wasn't even thinking about going back to school. But after my children started getting older, I realized, number one, it's a goal of mine to better myself. And one way in doing that was to return back to school for my master's. Mm-hmm. Two, to be an example to my kids that I was more than just a wife and a mother. Not that anything's wrong with that, because there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I wanted them to see more to me than that. And just lastly, representation. When people see someone that maybe looks like them or similar to them, it gives them permission to do the same thing.
That's good. That is true. I read somewhere where someone said, education is the development of growth of oneself. What do you think about that?
Truth,
Yes,
truth. You
yes.
know, a lot of people think that education means going for your bachelor's, your master's, and PhD and different things of that nature. But we know that's not for everyone,
Right.
and that's okay. However, whatever your gifts and talents and abilities are, it's up to you to take that raw material,
Mm.
form it, shape it, and build upon it.
Mm.
So yes, as you do that, you're going to be a better you, a greater you. So yes, education, it could be in the area of, let's say someone likes tinkering with things,
Mhm.
but going to a 4-year university is not for them. Well, go back and learn, take a trade, learn
Mhm.
how to be a mechanic,
Mhm.
build upon that, and be a master mechanic eventually. But don't just stop at your gift. Don't just stop at something you like doing.
That's good. We were talking backstage about education, of course, but I was saying to you backstage, I'm in school as well. And, what motivated me, even at 54, what motivated me to go was exactly what you said. I saw it within myself that there's something more that can be pulled out. And when I realized that for myself, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. So this semester, I was talking to my husband about I enrolled in some classes and I'm taking business courses. But to your point, Omika, what pushed me was at 40 years old. I'm 54 now. I actually went back to school and got my high school diploma at 40. Like literally, because I had my daughter early, my story. But what motivated me was that, and I love what you said about being an example of whether you said a representation for
Mhm.
my girls. And I had so much fear. I was like, I can't go back to school. How am I going to go back to school? I'm trying to teach them and learn at the same time. And you go through that and you're like, but wait, what they're going to see is a greater person of myself by
Right.
saying, wow, mommy's going back to school. So I remember, Omika, I took a test, a placement test, and I just figured, you know what, at least I'll get my GED, something that I always wanted to do. I was in my last year of high school before I dropped out. Took the test. It's something how you don't know what's in you. So the instructor said to me, can you just go and just try this other course for me? I was like, okay. So I went into the course and I literally, Amika, graduated across the stage, right? It's something how God remembers us for good, right? And I was the valedictorian in my class and I gave the speech at graduation. And when you talked about being that representation, what it showed my daughters is that
Mhm.
I could do it, that they can do it. What is it like for you juggling education, juggling your two beautiful children, your husband, your business, your ministry? We got to know how you're juggling all this thing. Guess what? And yet you're an A student.
Listen, I know people might say, oh, everybody says that. But when I tell you it's a beautiful thing to know God,
Oh, come on.
it's a beautiful thing to know God. Part of who I am, just naturally, I compartmentalize my life anyway.
Hmm.
So that can be good or bad.
Right,
But, for the most part, it works for me because I am not the best tasker. I can't get out here and do 50 million things at once. So what works for me is I have school over here.
hmm,
I have my family over here. I have the business over here. I have work over here, ministry over here. And when I'm focused in on that, I'm focused in on that.
okay.
But it's not to say that at times, other areas of your life don't bleed over into each other. But
Yes.
during those times, and, another story for another day,
Right.
but during those times when I tell you the strength of God
Mhm.
is made perfect,
Ah, come on.
the
Amen.
strength of God is made perfect
That's right.
because it's just been these 2 years have not been easy. And many people don't even know I'm in school. They don't even know I'm in school, but these 2 years have not been perfect. They have not been easy,
Right.
but they have, just like anything worth working towards, it's been worth it.
Right. Veronique chimed in and she said that it can be very fearful
Hmm.
taking that plunge, taking that step to say,
Hmm.
you know what, I'm going to go back to school. Was it fearful for you at any moment, at any
Oh
point
yeah.
in all of this?
You know, that 24-year-old mind is not the same as a 44-year-old mind.
Oh, come on. And I'm 54, so I get it.
So yes, because I knew I could do it, but it's like, how well can you do it?
Right.
Am I going to struggle
Mm.
with some of the material?
Okay.
One aspect of why I went back is because my undergrad is in social work.
Okay.
Well, I thought I was doing well by, just keeping abreast with changes by, working here and there with grant programs that still lined up with what I wanted to do in the future. But as my kids got older and I realized I wanted to go back into the field, number one, having that bachelor's degree was like having a high school diploma. And it wouldn't have been worth my time. I would have made more off, even though my heart was there,
Yes.
than I would have going 8 hours a day,
Right.
so on and so
Right.
forth. So it was like I needed to go back to better myself, to learn of all the changes that had taken place in 20, 20 some years. But but I needed to do that. And then for my future goals of having my group homes, I don't want to just be someone that owns something. If I needed to get down and do the work myself, I want to have the understanding and the knowledge to do it and not just hire somebody to do it. So yeah, it was fearful, but it was worth it. And it is worth it.
That's awesome. There's a huge population of women that are illiterate.
Mm-hmm.
And literacy is something that's real. Some people are put in a position where, for whatever reason, they weren't able to gain that knowledge of education in their lives. How can we as women help other women get over and get through literacy? Because it's real for some people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is.
I'm thinking the term I used earlier was representation.
Yes.
And how that gives others permission to be a better them or to do something that was in their heart to do, but logically they couldn't see themselves doing it. We can think about, and I'm not trying to go political, but we can think about, where we are in the political atmosphere, currently.
Yes.
First of all, we went almost 220 years of having leadership that we thought was the elite white male. Only they could, run our country.
Yes.
Only they could set, rules, regulations, do what they do. And then we had President Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama. And then that gave our younger children permission, whatever side of the coin you were on. It gave so many Black and brown individuals, so many minorities permission to maybe not, go desire to be president,
right?
But to even fall right under that,
That's right.
maybe I can go and get my master's. Maybe I can, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a woman of color who's the vice president elect, soon to be vice president. Mm-hmm. How many Black and brown women who you talk about literacy say, you know what, if she can do it, on top of the fact that she had got her undergrad degree from an HBCU. Now she went on to the University of California, so on and forth, to further her education. But wait a minute, she's starting somewhere where I can start or where I could have started.
That's right.
That gives, when you have representation, this is why education is so important. Not necessarily a master's or a PhD, but mastering your gifts, forming and shaping that raw material that God created you, in you. And therefore being that representation so you can give somebody else permission to get there too. So that literacy, someone seeing you and saying, you know what, Pastor Jean didn't get her GED until she was 40. How hard was it for her as a single mother for, some years before she did what she did? Right. I can do that too. It might take me a little while. I might have to go back to hooked on phonics. But guess what?
But guess what?
Phonics it is if I have a goal that I'm trying to get to.
Right. That's right. So. Wow, that's awesome. Monique chimed in and she just commented and she said, giving permission. That's right, Monique, giving permission. It's true. And I love what you said, being that representation. I know we keep going back to that word, but it's so powerful. That being that representation of other women to know that, you know what, you're right, Omika, we can go back and we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. I think one of the motivating factors in my life, I didn't have an Omika Benjamin in my life. I didn't have someone that I could, no, I didn't have anybody else to look at and say, you know, I can do it. But I am so grateful that God put it in my heart and in my mind and said, you know what, daughter, go back to school. And that's why it's so important too for me. And I have to share this, is having that relationship with Christ. Because, you know, God speaks that way. God can give you a thought. He can give you an idea. He can give you a plan. He can give you a strategy. And God can just go ahead and all of a sudden, I said, wait a minute. Omika, I was walking across the stage. Like it hit me. I think it hit me. I don't think it hit me while I was preparing. Because when they asked me to do the speech, I sat in my teacher's office, Omika, and I just cried. But when I got up there and I spoke, the first thing out of my mouth was, I give all glory
That's right.
to God. The first thing out of my mouth. But also what pushed me was what I went through. And because of the molestation and the abuse, my motivating factor was I was still going to come up out of this.
That's right.
And the women that are watching, and Veronique, you're right, despite of the fear, women go back and they finish truly inspire her. But my point is, whatever obstacles you face, you have to still be inspired. Find someone that can motivate you and push you to do it. Now, I've been around you and your family, all your kids and your husband. Your kids even have that kind of motivation in them. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Oh goodness, that was important to us. We wanted them to be well rounded. So when I say I took a little bit of what my parents instilled in me, you know, we incorporated that into raising them. You know, I can say I like to brag on them. When they were, I think Destiny was like K4, so Isaiah was like first grade. They were reading; their reading levels were off the chart. Wow. That wasn't because they were quote unquote geniuses. That was because we put in the time and the effort with them, you know, to read to them when they were younger. To, you know, I used to tell people, we don't talk baby talk to them. There's no goo goo gaga. We articulate. You know, we articulate with them. And so reading, you know, you talked about literacy for our people, women, yes, but for our people, I saw what I read where the prison system, they know how big to build a prison system by looking at how many children pass the third grade.
Wow. Wow.
And where do you think they're building these prison systems are, and what children are they looking at?
That's right. That's right.
So with our children, even though at that time we were in a low economical area, you know, when you think about Bishopville, South Carolina, because that's, you know, where we were doing ministry. So that area itself is like, I used to say on paper, the bottom of what's good and the top of what's bad. Wow. And so we wanted to make sure that our children were not going to be raised as a result of that system, because we were in the world. We are in the world, but we're not of the world. That's so therefore you have to train your children as if they are not of this world. So I tell anyone, reading is huge. You know, our children today can write, you know, and get all kinds of, you know, high scores for their writing. But that goes back to the fact that they can read and comprehend very well.
Yes.
You know, a lot of our kids, they don't do well on the SAT. We talked about the language that they use on the SAT, and it's not universal. You know, so a lot of our children, minority children, or children that are not raised in certain areas, they don't do well on these standardized tests. But just because I may not be able to read and understand, you know, to the degree, that doesn't mean I can't have that same expectation of my children. I can expect better for them.
That's right.
I can expect greater for them. And if I can't give it to them, or Marcus can't give it to them, then we made sure to put them in environments where they could get it.
Okay.
So
that's powerful. That's a powerful tool. And I hope the ladies that are listening tonight, even if you're a mother with small kids or even a grandmother, what you said was so powerful about how you start off. Is the Bible says, raise up a child in the way that they should go. And when they are old, they will not depart. And just hearing you talk about that, I'm a grandmother at this point of my life, it's even motivated me to even get a little more, tapped into what my grandchildren are doing. And Mendora, she commented and she said, this is a confirmation for her. She's been tugging back and forth about actually returning back to finish her BA degree. And I want to say to you, Mendora, that's right, Amika? I want to say to you, and she said by the end of the year, she's going to do it. If this has motivated you to do it, listen, you go back and you get it done. That's what it's really all about. We're going to take a commercial break and we're going to come back with Omika. She is imparting some beautiful wisdom nugget revelatory tools to us tonight. But we'll be right back with Real Talk with Jean Price. Listen, we have an exciting show coming up for the holidays. Jean's Favorite Things. You don't want to miss it. Go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe, but make sure you put in the comments, hashtag Jean Favorite Things. Make sure you put hashtag Jean's Favorite Things in the comments below. See you then. Have you been enjoying the show? Make sure you comment and like. Tell us what you want to talk about. It might be featured on the next Real Talk with Jean Price. Welcome back to Real Talk. We are having a wonderful discussion tonight on the power of education. And I am delighted to have my guest with me, Omika Benjamin, who to me exuberates what the power of education is all about. Omika, welcome back to Real Talk with Jean Price. This has been a phenomenal show thus far. Listen, sitting here talking about something that's so important. Omika, I read something where it said that there are 130 million girls that are out of school. I don't know how true that statistic is, but my point in bringing it up is that there are girls, because we were talking about children before we went to break. We were talking about the strategy that God has given you and your husband with your children, raising them and understanding how to talk. We don't do the I love what you said. We don't do baby talk, gaga, Google, whatever. We don't do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. We're going to talk about, you're going to help them to, articulate what they're saying. But there are a lot of kids that are not even in school. If you and I had to put a program together, what are some of the tools you would want to give to parents to help them?
Oh, goodness. Support. The times are different.
Yes.
You have more single parents. You have more working parents, working single parents. Mm-hmm. So therefore, they may not be able to do some of the things that we've talked about up to this point because they're just working and their focus is trying to keep food on the table, trying to keep them clothed. But something that I said earlier, in one way of supporting them is being to their child what they're not presently able to be themselves. Mm-hmm. So if they can't be there because they're working a 12-hour shift and they're too tired when they get home, then having more programs, like you're talking about, creating a program whereas we're there to help develop that child, not to take their place, but to help develop them where it pertains to their reading levels, literacy, school, getting to broaden their horizons that, what, I can graduate with my diploma. I can go further to community college or getting my bachelor's degree. I can go to cosmetology school, whatever it is that's in their heart, because we're providing them that support, then they can do these things. A lot of times kids don't go beyond, their environment is because that's all they see.
Ah,
So we have to change what they see. We
hmm,
have to, once you change what comes through those eye gates,
that's
then
right.
you can change, how they think, the thought process.
That's right.
So one of the things for parents these days, a lot of parents need that support, especially in times of this pandemic. I know there are a lot of kids that are not in school because guess what? They don't have the tools that they need to do virtual schools.
Yes,
They
yes,
don't have those things.
yeah. And
So we really need to look at, letting parents know we're not here to replace you. We're here to partner with you
I like that.
and support you,
I like,
and not, your child forgetting about you or being upset with you because you have to work or you can't be at all the programs, but your child understanding your role, and then also understanding, hey, God sends along people to partner with
mm,
your parents and you so that you can do what you need to do in order to be who you desire to be in life.
yeah. You touched on it just a little bit, and I've had a couple of shows on dealing with the pandemic, and oh my goodness, what is going on with education? It's
Mhm.
just, it's a hardship. Here in
Yeah.
New York, my granddaughter's school is actually getting ready, for what my daughter said, to close back down again. And to your point, Amika, it is very difficult for them to grab a hold, like they need to grab a hold with virtual learning. I understand the reason why, because of, we all, it's real. We're in this pandemic, but I can literally look at my grandson who lives with me, and I can see the struggle, because to your point, I only know but so much in that sense to what they're doing. And the teachers are doing their best to teach
Mhm.
them through the virtual learning, but it is really, really difficult. It's really difficult. And I wish there was some kind of way, and I love the word you use, partner. And we
Mhm.
could partner with different groups to kind of find a way to undergird this.
Yeah.
It might be through donation, it might be through maybe this, like what we're doing now, some StreamYard, or some Zoom,
Yeah.
just being open to just partner with teachers and students, and kind of, want to get this to happen. People are chiming in, and they're really being encouraged. Shalana said, I was inspired to go back to school after my daughter received her bachelor's in 2017. And she said, I just received my bachelor's. There it is, right? That's what
Yeah.
you were talking about. July of 2020. And this is during
I
the pandemic.
remember.
Shalana, we salute you for that. And she said, I'm inspired to do something new. Thank you for your wisdom. So, Amika, what you're saying, listening to these testimonies are amazing. It's absolutely awesome. So here it is. You're going to be done July of 2021 is what you
Yeah.
said. Kind
Yeah.
of tell us a little bit about how you're going to celebrate, but also your plans, if you can share it.
Oh, we're going to Dubai, right?
Oh, yes, we are. For those that are watching, I'm sorry. We're believing it's a friend thing. I don't know. We're believing the pandemic is going to be over, because we got plans to go to Dubai.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that
That's
part.
right.
We're
That's
going to celebrate this one.
look, rest. But I'm serious. It's going to be much needed rest. However, when I'm done, then I'm going to be able to move forward and focus more in my field is mental health.
Yeah.
So focus more on that, not just doing the work just to do it, but also having the time to put more of myself into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're split several ways,
Yes, yes,
but having more of the time to put myself into it. I'm also a real estate agent, so being able to do more of that, you know.
yes.
But yeah, so I have a plan in the next 3 years. Hopefully, I can have my first long-term care home,
That's beautiful.
and where my population would be the higher functioning adults who have varying abilities. So that could be Down syndrome,
Mm,
someone
I
that's on the autism spectrum. A lot of times, individuals, they lose their caregivers, and
mm,
they're placed in places that are not like home.
right.
With people who, nothing wrong with it, that they, because people need a job, but who, with people who are more focused on having a job than
Mm-hmm.
the patients that they care for. So
Good.
I want to be able to create more places for them to go to in the event that they lose that caregiver, whereas they either don't have to leave the thought of having a home.
Right.
and replace that with a thought of being in an institution. So that's my goal.
That's beautiful.
That's
That's again, of course, I know you're gonna be bring underpinning everything with the education that you have, which is I love it because now you get to really put into practice. And I know you're doing other things to really take what you've learned and
hmm
apply it. And just to be able to be connected to you and watch all of that come to pass is going to be absolutely not just beautiful, but so inspiring. So inspiring. And then just even looking at the comments that the women are saying tonight, what you've shared with us tonight, Omika, has it's been thought provoking, but it's also been heart touching because you could have given up at any moment of just like you said, stress or raising your children, but you never gave up. Where do you think you have got? Where did you get that perseverance from?
Wow, that's you know what? That's interesting. You asked.
Okay.
Um, I was talking to Marcus probably a week ago, and I was telling him, I said, you know what? I think there were periods in my life when I was depressed, and he looked at me. I know that's like a curse word in the in the body of Christ because we're not supposed to be depressed.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But I said, I think there were periods when I was depressed. And
Mhm.
he's like, what do you mean by that? And I just shared with him, some of the things that I believe I experienced
Okay.
relative to the DSM-5.
Mhm.
So, um, but I told him, I said, apart from God, having examples to look to, when
Okay.
I look to certain older women in my life, I
Mhm.
saw my grandmother take care of my grandfather, who was a paraplegic for 28 years. She retired from the medical field after working for 31 years. The latter part of her retirement, she took care of him. After she retired, she continued to take care of him. And I know I didn't see everything, but I know it wasn't easy. There were other older women in my life where I saw them go through things, whether it be in their marriage or with their children. And whenever I would go through things, I thought about them. I
Right.
thought about the smile that they still carried on their faces. I thought about the fact that they could still give God the glory in
Mhm.
spite of.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like,
Wow.
in this day and time, with all that we have access to,
Mhm.
this might be a hard moment,
Mm.
but it does not have to be a hard life. This is
That's
just
right.
a moment in life.
Right.
You know, this is why I changed saying, I love them to death. No, I love you to life.
That's
In
it.
life,
That's it.
we have challenges. In life, we have blessings. In life, we have prosperity. In life, you're going to go through different phases, different moments, but
Yeah.
you have life.
But you have life. Yes. Yes.
So um, that's one of the things that has kept me going in my life. It's
Okay.
just I can give stories. But
Mm.
when I walk out of this door, I asked my grandmother a question one time when my kids were young. I was
Okay.
like, they show off at home. They're climbing the walls, they're doing this, that, and the other.
Right.
Then when we go out in public, they're yes, ma'am,
Yes.
no, ma'am. And kids and people are like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. And I'm
Right.
like, you just acted crazy.
Oh,
And I would tell my grandmother this when they were younger, and she said, that's because your training is at
wow.
home.
Come on. Come on. That's
When we go through things in life, God does not, he doesn't leave you in the mess. Your
mm,
training is at home.
yeah.
So therefore, as you're going through the process of training, when you get to that place to whereas you have to walk out of the house, you can walk out with a smile on your face because he's strengthening you for the next phase of it. He's
Mm-hmm.
giving you what you need for the next phase of it. And so it's just my trust in God and the examples that came before me. The
That's
examples that came before me. And
yeah.
so I'm really big on older women teaching the younger women.
Mm,
It's our responsibility. We're not just getting older trying to be younger, dress a certain way and don't want anybody to know our age because, we still want to act like we're 24. I'm not trying to act like I'm 24.
that's right. That's
I
right.
want to teach the 24-year-olds how
Right.
to be graceful, how to take care of their husbands, how to take care of their children, how to go back to school. Even it's okay to take care to put your husband first and your children first, and then go back to school. Even if you may want to do it while you're doing that. That was my story. It may not be yours, but if it is your story, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel the pressure of, I got to get a career and then I have a family, or the pressure of, I got to have everything together while I have
Right.
my family, and then your family comes up, on the lower end.
Right.
So
That's
I'm
right.
probably rambling right now, but
No, you're not rambling. Everything you're saying is absolutely beautiful. No, you can keep going. It's absolutely beautiful. If you had the women are chiming in, and it's so good tonight, Omika. They're literally having their own sidebar conversation on the side, which is great. Keep doing it. But they're being inspired tonight. They're talking about goals. They're talking about Angela said goals are attainable, and then she's encouraging, saying, keep up the good work. Everything you're saying tonight is encouraging these women that are listening to your voice at this present time. They are being encouraged by this. If you had something to say to them, and you did say a lot, which was powerful, if you had something else to just kind of give them that little extra push. So by the end of the year, Mendora will be back in school. Paula Green is going to pick it up again. Angela, whoever's watching, Veronique is going to pick it up again. What would you say to them?
press.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
Just
it.
press.
Keep
There
pressing.
is always going to be something in life to stop you, to detain you, to delay you. But you got to press through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, in these 2 years, I've had legitimate reasons to say, I need to stop, I need a break. But with the Holy Spirit, His presence, His strength,
Mm-hmm.
I press. The Word of God talks about pressing towards.
Yeah.
You got to press through.
Yes.
It's not always easy, but it's worth it. That should be a tagline. I'll put that on a shirt.
It
Hashtag.
is. You put it on the shirt and I'll wear it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Just press. And I think, even you, Pastor Jean, I remember us sitting in the back of the car. I think Pastor Price was driving, and
Okay.
we were talking about you going back to school.
Really?
Yep. You
Wow.
were talking about you wanted to go back and work on your bachelor's degree. And there were some things that you shared with me.
Yeah.
And that was, gosh, that had to be a couple years ago.
Probably.
And
I think so.
yeah, because I won't get into it. We'll talk off camera.
Right. Of course.
But you said some things back, and I was just like, you would be phenomenal.
Wow.
Because your gifts and your talents and things that God has put in you is not just for the body of Christ. The Word of God says we are to go out into the world.
Right.
There's more that, and I was sitting there thinking like, gosh, she would be phenomenal working with, women out here who are struggling, who are where she was.
Yeah.
And look at you now. And so you're an example that you pressed through when others said no.
Yeah.
You didn't take that as your final answer.
Right.
So if I had to say anything to the ladies, it would be to press, or to anyone, just press through.
Just keep pressing.
Yeah.
This has been, and thank you for that, Omika. I honestly forgot about that conversation that we had. Oh, wow. And you're right, it was a while ago. And now it has come to pass that I'm able to be in school to do the things that I need to do, that I feel in my heart to do. And education for me has become even more important because, and I don't want to say, it's not because I'm getting older, it's because I feel like I want to get wiser.
Yeah. That's good.
I want to get wiser. One thing that Solomon said, and he could have had riches, and the Bible talks about he could have had so much. But the one thing Solomon asked God for was wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's what my press is as far as me going to school. I want to be able to, my husband, like we have this business, so I want to be able to do more to help him in the business. And then I have my own businesses. I have a clothing line. I have, I got a whole lot of stuff going on. I want to be able to take those tools and be able to bring them and use them for what I need to use them for. So I really do appreciate you just even reminding me and encouraging me that, you know what, you spoke this before and God brought it to pass. I'm grateful for that. But the women, listen, they're just phenomenal. Our audience is always great, always chiming in. It's always a blessing to be able to encourage them. And if you're listening tonight, and I know you are, and you've heard Omika share her story, share where she's been a little, talk about where she's going. go back to school. Mendora, go back to school. Paula, go back to school. I'm going to say, oh, if you want to do it, go back to school. We're here to encourage you as women of God, not just women, but women of God, and knowing that God has your back. And that's the other piece, Omika.
Yeah.
Knowing God has our back. The Bible says that He said He'll never leave us nor forsake us. It's not just, to your point, in the ministry world, but
That's
it's
right.
in the world. It's
That's
in,
right.
you know what I'm saying? So this has been a phenomenal show. I don't even want to cut it off, but I just feel that I want to do a part 2. And I think our audience would agree. We're going to ask Omika. She would be so delighted. We'll talk off camera and invite you to please come back. Let us know part 2. Let us know where you are. Let us know what you're doing. You have stirred some stuff up in some women about when it comes to education. So to the ladies that are watching on the show tonight, just a couple of commercial breaks. I just want to tell you, please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Listen, Jean's favorite things, that's going down this month. It's happening this month. And we have some wonderful, wonderful things that we have in store. 5 of you beautiful ladies are going to be hearing from me personally. So listen, you want to take a part in what we're doing. And again, we want to thank you tonight for chiming in. Thank you, Omika, for helping us tonight talk about the power of education. It's a big deal. Education is so important. And we want to be able to go back, and I love what Omika said tonight, and be a partner to help somebody else. So if you're thinking about going back to school, we partner with you. Thank you so much tonight for joining us. We'll see you next week on Real Talk with Jean Price. Good night. Listen, we have an exciting show coming up for the holidays. Jean's favorite things. You don't want to miss it. Go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe, but make sure you put in the comments, hashtag Jean favorite things. Make sure you put hashtag Jean's favorite things in the comments below. See you then.